radical expressions. We've got, I think, like 8 examples that we're going to work through with just adding and subtracting radical expressions. So the main important thing that you need to remember when adding or subtracting radical expressions, this is nice and big and bold with a big caution in front of it, because it only works when you have the same index and you have the same radicand. So only radical expressions with the same index and the same radicand may be combined. If they do not have the same index, can't add or subtract them. If they do not have the same radicand, remember the radicand is the number underneath the radical sign, you cannot combine them, which probably will be your most favorite problems because you can just say, oh, can't do anything to it, done. So there's actually no math involved because they're just going to write can't be simplified or can't add or can't subtract. Okay? All right, so we're just going to go through and do some adding of radicals. So here is example number 1. We've got 3 times the square root of 24 plus the square root of 54. Right now, do I have the same index? Yeah, they're both square roots, aren't they? Index is a 2, index is a 2, so right now I do have the same index. Do I currently have the same radicand? No, but I may, if I try to simplify them, end up with the same radicand, which probably you most likely will. So we need to simplify the square root of 24. What perfect square divides into 24? 4 times 6. So square rooting of 4 gets you to 2, and we're left with a square root of 6. Since I started out with 3 of them, and 1 square root of 24 is 2 square roots of 6, and I started with 3, how many square roots of 6s would you have? When you combine that, it would be 6 square roots of 6, because you multiply that 2 times that 3. Now let's do the same thing to the 54. Perfect square that goes into 54. What is that, 9 times 6 is 54. So square rooting both of those ends up with a 3 square roots of 6. Now do I have the same radicand? Yep. Yes. So if I had 6 square roots of 6s and I add 3 more square roots of 6s, I now have a total of 9 square roots of 6s. Okay, just think about that radical as a variable. Just kind of comes along for the ride. Okay, so far so good? All right, number 2. We have 2 times the square root of 20x minus the square root of 45x. And the book's going to tag along this x is greater than or equal to 0, just so we know that I'm going to end up with a positive value underneath my even index. So that's just covering their bases of not needing to put an absolute value sign anywhere. So I do have a square root, so my indexes are the same. Currently, my radicands are not, so that means we need to simplify them so that they do become the same radicand. Thanks. So perfect square that goes into 20 would be what, 4 and 5? So square rooting those gets me to 2 square root 5. Just attach the x along with that 5. Here I have this 2, which I need to multiply with the original 2 in the front. So that makes 4 square roots of 5x. Bring down your subtractions. Now 45 would be 9 times 5. So 3 square root 5x. So 4 square root of 5x minus 3 square roots of 5x leaves me with how many square roots of 5x? 1. So square root 5x. Done. Okay. Questions with that, Kyle?
So if they ever give you one where they have the whole x is greater than or equal to 0, but it doesn't match to the
Well, the only reason why that is there is because whenever we have an even index and I have a variable underneath it, that variable can't be a negative number. Like x can't be -1, because then that would give me a negative underneath a square root, which is not possible in the real number world. In the imaginary world, yes, which we're not there yet. So that's why they're just putting it there to cover their bases. Just like in section 8.3, it said assume all variables are positive or whatever in the directions. Okay. All right, looking at C, we've got the square root, or 2 square roots of 3, minus 4 square roots of 5. My indexes are the same. Currently, my radicands are not the same. Can I simplify the square root of 3? It's already simplified. The square root of 5 is already simplified. So can I do anything with this? Nope. So I would just say something like can't simplify further. All right, so now we're going to move ourselves into the cubic world, which gets a little bit more complicated because we're familiar with our perfect squares. We're less familiar with our perfect cubes and our perfect fourths. All right, so here we've got 2 cube root of 16 minus 5 cube roots of 54. Okay. Now, me personally, my trick of the trade is, if I don't have my perfect cubes memorized, on my calculator, what I'll do is I'll just do a 16 divided by 2 to the third, or I'll do a 16 divided by 3 to the third, and then I'll see which one of those actually gets me an integer answer. It would be 2 to the third, because 2 to the third is 8. So that right there is going to tell me, okay, well, I'm going to do a 2 to the third, which is 8. So 8 times 2. With 8 being your perfect cube. So the cube root of 8, the cube root of 2, the cube root of 8 goes to 2, and I'm left with a cube root of 2. This 2 with the original 2 would multiply to make 4 cube roots of 2. So there's our first part simplified. So 54 would be, 8 doesn't go into 54, does it? So my next perfect cube is 27. 27 times 2, is that 54?
Yeah.
Yeah. So 27 times 2, so cube rooting both of those results in 3 cube root of 2. Multiplying this 3 and the original 5 will give me a subtract 15 cube roots of 2. So now my indexes are the same along with my radicands. So just ignore the radical signs. 4 minus 15 is negative 11. And then just carry the cube root of 2 along with it. So negative 11 cube roots of 2. Okay. All right, so let's throw more variables into the mix. So here we have 2 times the cube root of x squared y plus the cube root of 8 x to the third y to the fourth. So my indexes are the same. Can I simplify my x squared y any further? Keeping in mind, remember my exponents right now are less than my index. That means it is simplified all the way. If this was larger than 3, then I could probably take some stuff out. So the first half is simplified. Now let's go to the second half. The cube root of 8, that is a perfect cube. What is the cube root of 8? 2. So I'm going to pull a 2 out and leave some space for before I get to my cube root sign. 5 is higher than 3, so it means I can take out some x's. How many times does 3 go into 5? Once. How many are left over? 2, so I have an x squared underneath. 4 is higher than 3. How many times does 3 go into y, or 4? Once, with only 1 left over. So now, do I have like radicands. Yes. Now I have a cube root of x squared. Why did I put a plus there? X squared y. And here I have a cube root of x squared y. But here I have a 2, but here I'm adding 2xy. And I can't add those because they're not like terms. But what the book does have you do is they have you factor out the common factor of them. So I see a 2 here, I see a 2 here, so I know I can factor out, reverse distribute, a 2. I also can factor out the like radical, which would be a cube root of x squared y. So if I factor that out, what's left over in the first term in front of the plus sign? If I take everything out, what do we put there as a space filler? 1, right? If I distribute it, it would get me back to that. If I factor out the 2 of the second term and the whole radical, what would be left over here? Just the xy. Good. That's how the book's going to want you to put your answer, by factoring out the greatest common parts. That's the most simplified version you can do. All right, almost there. Everybody got that? So if you can't physically add, see if you can actually factor something out to see what is left over. All right, next one up. 5 times the square root of 4x to the third plus 3 cube roots of 64x to the fourth. I do not have like indexes, so that means I'm not going to be able to add anything together, but I could probably try to simplify them a little bit more. So let's focus here. The square root of 4 is 2. My index is 2. How many times does 2 go into 3? Once. So I'm going to have 1x left over. What am I going to do with this 5 and that 2? Multiply. So that first term simplifies to 10x square root x. Now let's go to the second one. What perfect cube goes into 64? Actually, is that a perfect cube? Is that 4? It's 4 times 4, 16 times 4. Yes, that is a perfect cube. So I have, so moving over here. So we have 3 times 4. How many times does 3 go into x to the fourth? Once, with 1 left over. So that gets me plus 12x cube root x. Okay. Does the book do factoring on that? No, they just leave it there. And that's what they're doing for their answer. Okay. All right. 2 more, and we're done. Now we're going to throw some fractions into our lives. Fraction problem number 1. 2 times the square root of 75/16 plus 4 times the square root of 8 over the square root of 32. All right. What do we think a good game plan would be? Well, let's do the first term. Ignoring this 2 for now. Whenever we take the square root of a fraction, we take the square root of the numerator and the denominator individually. So the square root of 75 over the square root of 16. Square root of 16, I'll take that one. That goes to 4. What does your numerator simplify to? A perfect square goes into 75. 25 times 3. So that would go to what? 5 square roots of 3. Perfect. Now let's bring that 2 down in front. Okay. How would you multiply this? So ignoring your square root of 3, 2 times 5 is 10. 10 over 4 reduces to what? 5 over 2, right? Or you could just cancel out your 2's. That would go to a 1, that would go to a 2. So that goes to 5 square roots of 3 over 2. Okay, now let's go over to this side. Square root of 8, what does that simplify to? 2 square roots of 2, good. Square root of 32 would be 4 square roots of 2, because that would be 16 times 2. What happens here? Square root of 2's cancel, that's nice. 2 over 4 cancels to, or simplifies to 1/2. Now I got to bring this 4 back into play. So 4 times 1/2 is 2. All right. So now I have, I'm going to erase this stuff. We have 5 square roots of 3 over 2 plus 2, which I can combine into just one fraction, meaning I need to make a common denominator so that I can actually add these together. So it will be my common denominator. 2, so I would turn this into a 4 over 2. So adding that gets me 5 square roots of 3 plus 4 all over 2. Okay. There's that. All right, last fraction one, we're going to do a cubic one. So we've got 10 cube root of 5 over x to the 6th minus 3 cube roots of 4 over x to the 9th. Alright, so I'm going to ignore the 10 for now. Cube root of 5, I can't simplify that. What will be the cube root of x to the 6th? X squared, right, because 3 goes into 6 2 times. Now I can just throw that 10 up there in the numerator. Over to this side, I can't simplify a cube root of 4, so that would just say 3 times the cube root of 4. The cube root of 9 would be x to the 3rd. What would be your common denominator of x squared and x to the 3rd? It would just be x to the 3rd. Don't make it x to the 5th. Don't make it x to the 6th. You want to take it to the highest exponent. So if this is x to the 3rd, what do I need to do to x squared to make it x to the 3rd? Multiply it by another x, right? Which would easily make it x to the 3rd. So my denominator is going to be x to the 3rd. This will become 10x cube root of 5 minus 3 cube root of 4. I do have like indexes, but I do not have like radicands, so I can't do anything else to it. That would be your final answer. Okay, that's it. So for your homework, you're doing 7 through 39 odds, and then 45, 51, 55, and 57 are all those